For my technology lesson plan, I chose to use Mastery Connect. And so this is the home screen for Mastery Connect, and in general what it does is it's a way to track and assess students, and it's based on the TEKS. So I use this for my Algebra 1 class, and it can be used in any classes. They have pretty much all of the TEKS set up for all of the different content areas, and we can also share between different teachers, which is a nice aspect of it. So where I start with this is we have a curriculum map that we use, and one person on my team creates this, and then all of us share with each other so that we can all have access to it and compare data on here. So what this does is it breaks up our year, and each color is a different unit. So we started with equations, and then we go on to functions and slope-intercepts. So this is our whole year planned out, and all the TEKS are organized based on how we plan on covering them for the year. So this is what we will use for the rest of the year. And then at the bottom it shows all the assessments that we made. So far we just have a Unit 1 assessment, and all the teachers on my team use this. So we're able to look at each other and we can share resources. So under each TEK we have the different documents that have been uploaded and what other teachers have been using on Mastery Connect, so we can see them and we don't each have to do the work to upload the different documents. And what it will look like with my students, we have a tracker for each class. So these are all of my algebra classes that I have. And then the little bar shows just a brief summary of how many standards we've assessed. And this kind of shows the breakdown of how many of my students have mastered all these 3% of the standards. The yellow is near mastery, and then the red are students who need remediation. So you can just briefly compare classes and see how the classes in general are doing. So then when you click on the tracker, this is what it looks like for all of my students. So we've only assessed these 2 TEKS so far this year. And then it also shows their Unit 1 assessment. It shows how my various students did on that. And one good thing about Mastery Connect is it doesn't just show things that I have done in my class, because only a couple students have information for these other standards. So these are things that they didn't do in my class, but they did in some other class, or maybe in 8th grade. Or if they took algebra in the past, all of their data stays with them in Mastery Connect. So I can see how they're improving after being in my class on stuff that maybe they were tested on in prior years. So that's one nice thing, and why some students have more data than others. And to actually assess them, I would go to the assessment, and then over here you can enable the camera, and you just hold up a bubble sheet in front of the camera and it will just grade it right away. That's one thing I can do, or the students can get a code that I can just put up on the board and they can put it in their phone. So if we do an exit ticket for this, that's the way that I tend to do it. It's easy to just have them get their phone out real quick and they just type the code in, and they can put in their answers and then see how they did right away. So they have that instant feedback. This also generates a bunch of different reports that are nice to look at. So this is a test that I just gave the other week. So it shows item by item how my students did, so I can quickly look and see what stuff we need to work on and what they've done good at. And they're already successful and we don't need to work on it anymore. I can also compare my different class periods, so I can see some of my classes are doing really well with the topic, others need more work. And we can also compare all the different teachers. So I can look at me compared to another teacher, and we can see how our students are doing to see if they're doing better than me at something. We can get ideas from each other and kind of help each other out like that. So that's another good thing about Mastery Connect. And so last year I used it mostly for exit tickets. This year, so what this assessment is, I didn't want to do multiple choice with my students this year. I just did open-ended questions. So for these, if I click on grade, it's over here and I have student information, so I'm not moving my screen all the way, but I can just select a 1 or a 0 for each of these 10 questions if my student got it right or wrong. And it's a way that I can keep track of their data without having to give a multiple choice test. And most of my team is giving multiple choice tests, so this is how I'm putting my data in to compare. So as a way for all of us to have data to look at, even though we're doing different forms of the tests. So it's good for open-ended and also multiple choice, and keeps track of all the students' data over time. And that's what I've liked about using Mastery Connect so far.